nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take roll call, please.
Mrs. Talby?
Here.
Mr. Gilbert?
Here.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Heather? Mr. Teetsort?
Read our mission statement. The Northwest Local School District will create a responsive learning community where all students are valued, challenged, and guided along a pathway to success. We need a motion and a second to adopt tonight's agenda.
Tonight we actually have quite a few presentations, and it's a good night to celebrate all of the accomplishments of not just our kids, but also of our staffs and our support organizations. So we're really excited to share a lot of good news tonight. We're going to start with a presentation. I'm going to introduce John Briner, who's an associate professor at the University of Cincinnati. We have a partnership with UC to work on teacher recruitment and retention and try to fill the teacher pipeline and fill some of the gaps and shortages that are there. And through this partnership, we have staff members who are actually working to offer CCP courses, College Credit Plus, to high school students to get them engaged in the teaching pipeline and we bridge that gap from high school to college and go right into UC. And John is here to acknowledge one of our high school teachers that has been working with the program, and John and UC actually wrote a nomination for this teacher to be the 2024 Ohio Teacher of the Year. So we're excited for him to share that nomination of that outstanding teacher.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very pleased to read my nomination letter for Miss Carrie Martini. I've been working with her for a couple of years on this project, and she just, when I thought about the idea of nominating one of my partner teachers, it was clear immediately who I was going to nominate. So I'd like to take a moment and read my nomination letter. I'm delighted to nominate Carrie Martini, an outstanding English teacher at Colerain High School, for the Ohio Teacher of the Year Award. Carrie's dedication to her students and passion for teaching make her stand out among her peers. Carrie also teaches Minority Perspectives, Creative Writing, and a dual-credit Introduction to Education course. Carrie has been a teacher at Colerain High School for 26 years and has demonstrated a strong commitment to student success. She is known for ensuring that her students have the support and resources to excel. Whether it's staying after school to provide extra help, responding to emails late at night, or collaborating with colleagues to develop new teaching strategies, Carrie is always focused on her students' success. One thing that sets Carrie apart as a teacher is her ability to connect with her students on a personal level. She takes the time to get to know each of her students individually, learning about their interests, goals, and challenges. By building strong relationships, Carrie is able to create a classroom environment that is supportive, engaging, and conducive to learning. A former student wrote that she is the soul of Colerain High School, the teacher who cared about who you were and where you were going. Carrie is also an active member of the Colerain High School community. She serves as a mentor to new teachers, participates in school-wide committees, and volunteers her time to support and lead school events. Carrie is also the Colerain representative in a partnership with the University of Cincinnati to recruit more students into education careers. In conclusion, Carrie Martini is an exceptional teacher who makes tremendous impacts on the lives of her students and the Colerain High School community. I wholeheartedly endorse her nomination for Ohio Teacher of the Year. Miss Carrie Martini.
Carrie, is there anything you wanted to share? Any comments? I know I'm asking an English teacher.
How much time do you have?
I just really do appreciate this award or this nomination. I think most of the people who know me know that I care very deeply about this district. And Colerain High School is obviously my alma mater, and I started at Houston and went all the way through. So this is where I intend to finish my career. It's where I started it, and I will do anything and everything I can to make sure that we're the best we can be. So thank you.
All right, next, we would like to take a moment to recognize some of our PTAs who offer a lot of support to our buildings, partnerships with our administration, and give them an opportunity to not only be highlighted and recognized for the amazing work they do, but give them a moment to share some of the highlights of the work that they've done this year to support their building. I'm actually going to come out, so I've got a certificate for the PTAs. So we'll start with Colerain Elementary PTA. Say,
Okay. Well, hello. My name is Amanda Demkowski. I'm the outgoing president at Colerain Elementary PTA. First of all, thank you for inviting us all to come today. As a parent, I love to hear the positive news when I watch these meetings on Waycross Media, and I just like to hear all the positive events going on in our district. So we were very excited this year. This is our first year at Colerain Elementary, fully back with all of our in-person events. We had a lot of our annual traditions, such as Stricker's Grove, Breakfast with Santa, and we created some new ones this year as well. Some events that we held this year that we're hoping will become traditions are our Trunk or Treat, which far exceeded our hopes as far as attendance from not only students and families in our community, but also staff, administration, and even some of you were here for that event. Another event that we held was our Fun Run, which provided just a day of fun, physical activity for students, as well as raising some funds for transportation, for field trips for next year, which is one of our biggest goals. As far as enhancing student learning, our PTA has sponsored multiple events. One that comes to mind is in April. We collaborated with Newport Aquarium and the Wave Foundation and brought a penguin to Colerain Elementary. Grade levels had grade appropriate education on penguins themselves, their habitat, as well as a little bit of education for the older ones on conservation efforts. And then one of our goals always is supporting our school and supporting our staff. So a way that the PTA does that is we provide resources, whether that's financial resources such as our I Wish list, which over the past 3 years has provided $25,000 worth of equipment, room decorations, learning activities, flexible seating for students, things like that, teacher allotments, or just collaborating with teachers for recycling efforts or other events. I'm sure my time's up, so thank you all so much again. And I know everyone here is very involved in the district, but for anyone that maybe watches this later, I would love for you to get involved. We're always open, as well as all the other PTAs and PTOs at all the other schools in our district. We'd love to see you.
Thanks, Amanda.
All right, thank you for having me. My name is Christy Bogan. I'm from Colerain Middle, and hold on one second, I gotta get my notes. I'm thankful this year we actually had a full board in the middle school. That doesn't happen often in middle school, because when you get there, people start to kind of like, oh, it's not cool to be around the kids and all that. So I have to thank Ann Sanders, Ellie Thielen, Amy Jackson, Amy Wiseman, Tammy Burr, Jody Sparks, Becky Roberts, and Robin Behrman for all being on the board. And I didn't scare anyone off, and they're all coming back next year. So I'm excited about that. And we started off, our goal was to get 100% of the teachers get their membership, to get 100% of the teachers' membership, and we did that. And with the HCC, that's a big thing, so we got an award for that. And then we also got an award for having the biggest increase, I guess, in the whole HCC. So we got an award for that and a gift card, so that was pretty cool. We were able to supply dinner for all the teacher conferences. There was 4 of them, so that's neat to be able to do that for the teachers. And they feel very blessed, and they're always thankful. Thank you for giving us food, because I know it's a long day for the teachers, so they appreciated that. We had Who Day. He came and visited Coleraine Middle School, so the kids had fun with that and the teachers. And then in December, we did this dodgeball tournament. It's the whole entire school, the staff gets involved, and we did that. The kids had a blast. It's all day. The only time they get a break is for lunch. And then we do dodgeball in the morning, dodgeball in the afternoon. They love it. And I think the teacher team actually won this year. So good for them. And then we also did in April, we had our biggest fundraiser is this flower sale. We make a little over $4,000, and that's awesome for middle school. And then we did a pie assembly for the kids that sold all these flowers. We did pizza parties, ice cream parties. So the kids had a lot of fun with that. And again, it's the whole school comes and watch all these. We had 20 teachers get pied. So it was awesome. They're always good sports about that. And then at the end, we were able to rent out Soccer City for the 8th graders, and they had their end of the year celebration. Everyone had fun. No one got hurt. Everyone had a good time. So that's always awesome in our book. And I think that's our big highlights. So we had a great year.
Thanks, Kristen.
Taylor Elementary.
Good evening. I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to recognize the PTAs. It is not for the weak, especially at Taylor. I am the president, Christine Colliver, and I have my 2 ladies here, Gail Winkfield and Gina Perkins, and we are it. And we have been for the last 3 years. We really struggle with getting these magnificent PTA boards to support us. Now, we do have parents that come and help us. We have some that we can rely on, but for the most part, planning and execution goes on by us 3 ladies. But some of our highlights this year, this was our 2nd year for our trunk or treat, and it was even bigger and better. We had a lot of staff participation, which was fun to see them decorating their trunks. We did a breakfast with Santa. Our winter ball was successful. Field day, we provided lunch for all of our Tigers, so about 850 students. We were able to recruit Mr. Gilbert to grill 900 hot dogs that day. I also, one of the highlights that we had is we had a Spirit Week in which one of our days was to dress up like the principal. Nothing was cuter than seeing a bunch of little Casey Schurs running around. That was the biggest highlight, I have to say. And we did a bingo night, which was the first time that we tried that. And I have to say, we were pretty disappointed. We had 15 families show up, which was kind of disappointing. But at the end of the night, every Tiger received a prize. And so our hearts were full after that. We also were able to work out with Ryan Grinstead with Kona Ice to provide all of our Tigers a Kona on their last day, which when I walked in the building that afternoon, I was told it was a great day to be a Tiger. There were smiles aplenty. We were able to purchase a Gaga ball pit for our playground area, and also we provided the 5th graders for their end of the year field trip to the place. And we have a lot more things in store for next year, so we're excited to start planning for next year already. So if anyone's watching, we need people to step up because our girls are aging out. We have 5th graders, but we won't leave you hanging, Mr. Schurz. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Pleasant Run Elementary. I saw you look the other way.
None of us like to talk, so. Hello, my name is Megan Howe. This is Ashley Sweet, Maria Butts. We are all equal in the PTA by far. We do have titles, but we really don't go by them. We all do a pitch into everything. I think the biggest thing for this year was that this was PRE's first normal year after COVID. It was the first year that we really got approval to bring back in. A little bit last year, but this year was full-blown back to normal. We started bringing different pumpkin night and elf night in last year, and we just didn't get many students in. And then this year, we really opened everything back up. We also added in the special person prom, which was amazing to see. For years, people have asked for a formal dance for mother, son dances. And so we went ahead and we sold way more tickets than we thought we were going to. 400. And it was amazing how dressed up everybody got. It turned out to be the most perfect event, and we hope they keep it going year after year. Our biggest fundraiser was popcorn. With good old Roger Smith. He came and brought the money machine, and he's been and worked with our district forever. So if you never need help with a fundraiser, call him. And we ended up selling, $8,000. We profited $8,000 off of just popcorn. So that was a big one for us.
We provided busing for the field trips for K through 5, including the 5th grade farewell to, where we got the place?
Yep. So, but we did the transportation for every grade, so that way we made sure that every grade got to go on a field trip this year, because they had not previously.
If anyone wants to be on the board, we need board members. 2 of us are leaving the board, so we need them.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies.
Those are in middle school and Northwest High School, who are a combined PTA.
Thank you. We did something different this year. We combined the PTA for the high school, the Northwest High School, and the Pleasant Run Middle School. It was the first year we tried it. We still kept separate treasurers and separate accounts and everything. What we did was try to combine our resources to get everything done. We, of course, had dances, we had fundraisers, we did field day, we did all of the normal PTA events that we could, and just pooled our resources. Learning experiences, what we found was we still needed individual monthly meetings to give full dedication to each school. So it's the change we're making next year is the first and last meeting will be combined, and each monthly meeting will be separated so that we can give our full attention to each school. The one thing that I think that I'd really like to say is that we really appreciate you thanking us for what we're doing, but I think parents need to know that there is a reward to being part of the PTA. The opportunity to learn and meet teachers, not just your own, but all the teachers, to meet all the other staff members that support the schools, the secretaries, the janitors, everyone who makes the schools successful, is a great opportunity. When I call the school, people know who I am. They help me. When I attend these meetings, I learn what's happening at the schools, and that's really important to know because your kids are there for so long. So like everyone else, I'm up here to tell parents, if you're watching this, to please join. You don't have to do the work. There's enough here that are going to volunteer to do the work. Come to the meetings, meet people, meet people, and become a part of this community because the Northwest community is really important.
Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any of the PTAs represented that there's ones that are SVP, any ones that were here that don't leave anyone out?
Thank you. Thank you. Yep, I know how much work goes into running and being on PTA, and the stuff that you guys do is amazing, and the families, the kids that attend the events, the trunk or treats, and the Spirit Week, everything makes it fun and very rewarding. I agree, going to the meetings, you find out a lot about the behind the scenes of the schools, what your kids are doing every day, so I would definitely encourage people to get involved. Thank you, guys.
And obviously, there was a common theme that we need more support, so that help is always welcome. We also have another recognition we like to do tonight. The Taylor PTA, Ms. Colliver, is here to do a special recognition for Huntington Learning Center, which we have a partnership with the district, but they have a special connection at Taylor.
Hello again. Taylor PTA wanted to come to the board tonight and just recognize these two wonderful ladies. We have Stephanie and Lindley from Huntington Learning Center. Not only do they offer tutoring in our school, they have been a tremendous help to the PTA. They have, I think they've worked and donated to every one of our big events. They have provided juice, water, juice and milk for Breakfast with Santa, cookies for our winter ball, foil to wrap all those 900 hot dogs in. At the winter ball, they let us use their popcorn machine. And I have to tell you, Miss Lindley here was standing up there all by herself with this popcorn machine, and there is a line of kiddos as long as you could see. And she just do as patient as can be. And I'm like, I already would have tipped that thing over and said, popcorn's over for tonight. But she's like, I'm the most chill person you'll meet. So I'm like, you go, girl. So we rocked the pot. She rocked the popcorn. But we wanted to just take the time and recognize their efforts and how grateful we are for the time that you come to help set up, help tear down, stay through the event, pass out cookies, wrap hot dogs. And so we wanted to present you with this plaque to recognize your generosity. And then we have a gift for the both of you. So thank you very much. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So now I'd like to introduce Dustin Gehring, who will facilitate our spring competitive music and athletic accomplishments.
And after this presentation, everyone who was recognized, if you want to step outside to a picture, Ms. Creasy will be joining us out there. Take that picture. It's also your way to get out of here. So we'll do that after this.
Well, you're welcome to stay.
You're always welcome to stay. Yeah. So I'd like to first bring up Mr. Ali Moore, who's going to introduce our Corrigan Middle School recipients. So let's welcome Mr. Moore.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Case, who's going to highlight Allison, who's one of our musical cardinals.
Hi, good evening. So we had one person who went to solo and ensemble contest this year. It's a very nerve-wracking thing. So you go to a totally different school, which you've most likely never been to, and you walk into a room where there is one judge sitting there, and they always have that same look on their face, and they just stare at you and wait for you. And they make you play a scale, and it can be a whole variety of scale. Allie went with her cello, and she was able to score a superior rating. So there is a 1 through 5 scale, and she scored a 1, which is the highest. So she earned a little medal, and it was quite honorable for her to be able to do such a thing in such a short time of notice. So we'd like to recognize Allie.
Do is have you go around and
Did you want to perform for us, Allie?
Cello in the car.
Congratulations. Congrats on your proud.
Congratulations. Before we bring up our next school, I want to take a moment, a message from Mr. Huffaker. He wanted to make sure that you knew that the group that came to sing for you at the most recent event, the Chamber Singers, recently received straight superior ratings at the state competition, which is one of the things that we were honoring, that they were headed that way. That is the highest rating possible, and it is the first time that the Chamber Singers have received this honor. So let's give them a big round of applause as well. With that being said, I'd like to welcome up Mr. Matt Stoynoff from Corrigan High School.
All right, thank you for inviting us tonight and having us here. So we got a few of our spring athletes that we're going to recognize. this evening. Most of them are not here. Honestly, just 3 of them are. They either have practice tonight or a prior commitment. And I told our coaches to take the night off, and I'll take care of it. So up first will be our softball team. Natalie McGuire is a catcher, and she was first team All-GMC. Olivia Schaefer is a freshman, and she was also first team All-GMC and a pitcher. So that's it for our softball. Up next will be our baseball. We had Dylan Lloyd, who was first team All-GMC, pitcher and infielder. So Dylan, come on up. Our next one is Carson Talby. Carson was first team All-GMC, pitcher and infielder. And then our next baseball player is Caleb Campbell. Caleb was second team All-GMC, infielder and pitcher. All right, moving on to track. We had a very, very successful track season this year. Sahid Davis was first team All-GMC in the high jump. And then Summer Swartout was first team All-GMC. She broke the school record in the 100 and 200. She's a 3-time state qualifier in the 100, 200, and on our 4x1 team. And then at state this weekend, she took second place in the 200 and third place in the 100. So just to put that in perspective, there's 820 high schools in the OHSAA, roughly 40, 50 kids on each of those. You're talking 40,000 athletes competing. And to say that we have one in the second fastest in the 100 and 200 and that. So congratulations to Summer and our 4x1 team, who also broke the school record Friday night to qualify for the final Saturday. So it was a great weekend for our track team and a great spring season. So thank you for the support.
So any of our friends that are part of the recognition, if you'd like to step outside, we'll be taking some pictures outside.
CBS kid. You're really taking this president serious.
Daryl saw me go one time, like in minutes. Yeah, the little one.
Okay. Gee, please clear it out.
Wow, that's everybody.
Our presentation really is good.
All right, so moving on, I'd like to introduce Lori Reilly, Assistant Director of Curriculum, and we're going to have a presentation tonight on the science of reading. This is something that has gotten a lot of publicity with a lot of the budget bill and a lot of the transition to a structured approach to literacy. And so Rachel Barnes, our literacy coach, and Lori are going to walk us through not only what a definition of science of reading is, but how it's impacting our students at Northwest.
Good evening. So Mr. Yater took my entire intro, but I'm going to say it again. This science of reading, you hear it a lot lately. You hear it attached to dyslexia. We hear it coming from Governor DeWine and some of his proposed legislation around making sure that our resources align to the science of reading. But really, what is it? It's a phrase that we hear a lot, but not many people have a deep understanding of what it is. While we've heard it a lot lately, I am excited to tell you that it is not new in Northwest Local Schools. We've been talking about the science of reading since at least 2019. So I like to say we're kind of ahead of the curve when it comes to this. But tonight we want to talk to you about what it is, what it looks like in our buildings, and the impact that it's having with our students. So I'm joined today by Rachel Barnes, our district literacy coach, who's going to give you kind of the overview of the science of reading, and then I'll be back to kind of tell you a little bit about what it looks like in our classrooms and the results that we're seeing because of it.
The science of reading refers to over 20 years of research experts have compiled and examined. This research led to the scientific research-based information on how children learn to read. Based on the research, students need explicit, systematic instruction in what is called the 5 big ideas, or the 5 components of reading. They're shown here. In 2000, the National Reading Panel issued a report that identified 5 key areas that are critical for effective literacy instruction. Phonological awareness, the ability to hear and manipulate sounds and words. Practice in blending sounds prepares students to read. Practice in segmenting sounds prepares students to spell. Phonics is the sound spelling correspondence, so matching that letter sound to the spelling or spellings. Vocabulary is not only being able to understand what you're reading, but being able to use that vocabulary in spoken and written language. And students begin building this even before reading in oral language interactions and by books being read aloud. Fluency is the ability to read with enough speed and accuracy and expression or prosody. When fluency becomes more automatic, students can focus more on what they are reading to understand the meaning, and fluency is the bridge to comprehension. Reading comprehension is our final component, and it is the ability to understand what you are reading. Reading comprehension requires background knowledge, understanding sentences and text structures, monitoring your understanding, and making connections to prior knowledge. In 1986, Goff and Tumner developed the simple view of reading. The simple view of reading is decoding times language comprehension equals reading comprehension. Decoding is the ability to transform print into spoken language. Language comprehension is the ability to understand spoken language. And through our letters learning, we have been focusing in units 1 through 4, mostly on the decoding side of the simple view of reading. And next year in letters, when we finish up with units 5 through 8, we'll be focusing mostly on the language comprehension side. And we'll also have a unit on effective writing instruction. Word recognition or language comprehension by itself is not enough. If we have one without the other, we won't get the outcome of reading comprehension that we desire. Scarborough's reading rope shows us that each side of the equation is made up of many strands. Word recognition or decoding is the bottom 3 strands there: phonological awareness, decoding, and sight recognition. And then you see language comprehension side of the simple view of reading at the top with those 5 strands. Language comprehension side of the rope is just as important as the phonics side when teaching reading, and we need to be developing this starting in pre-K and kindergarten. The language comprehension side consists of building knowledge, vocabulary, understanding what you are reading at the sentence level, making connections and creating webs of ideas, and building a mental model of what you are reading. As these strands at the top, the language comprehension strands, become increasingly strategic, and the decoding strands become increasingly automatic, they become interdependent for skilled reading. If just one of those strands is weak, then the whole thing can unravel. Through our relentless focus on literacy in both district-funded and independent learning of our literacy leaders, we are making shifts into our classrooms from practices that are not consistent with structured literacy to practices that are. Ohio's Dyslexia Guidebook states, "Structured literacy is an instructional approach that describes the type of explicit and systematic reading instruction supported by research. This instructional approach explicitly teaches the language structures supporting both the word recognition and the language comprehension components of the simple view of reading." So here we have some practices that we are putting into place in our classrooms, and you can see the shifts that are being made. So before, we might have been drawing shapes around words where we were focusing on or calling attention to words if the letters were tall or short. Well, now we know that orthographic mapping leads to reading. Orthographic mapping involves formation of letter sounds, connections to bonds, spellings, pronunciations, and meanings to specific words in memory. We're no longer posting words on an alphabetic word wall based on the first letter in a word, regardless of the sound that it represents. Now we are using sound walls, where we draw attention to students and explain how we are learning to read from speech to print. And with our sound walls, we teach multiple spellings to students. We're no longer grouping our students based on leveled text sets, but we group them based on skill groups. We're no longer asking students to guess at words or predict based on a picture that they see. We're teaching them to decode and read the words. And we're no longer having teachers read aloud from texts that are leveled, but we're asking teachers to use read aloud texts that are above students' independent level in order to expose them to complex ideas, vocabulary, and language patterns that aren't part of everyday speech. The science of reading isn't just about phonics and other foundational skills, but about all 5 components of reading. As students are reading and making meaning of the text, they have to have a strong working memory to be able to quickly decode and read the words by sight, and automatically make connections with things that they already have stored in their long-term memory to create a mental model. Next, Lori will talk about the shifts in data in our ongoing teacher training.
So as you can see from Rachel's presentation, teaching a student to read is not a simple task at all. Now that we know better, we need to do better. But imagine being a 20-year veteran teacher who's taught reading one specific way your entire career and finding out that you've been doing it incorrectly or not the way that yields the best results and having to make that shift. That has put a lot of stress on some of our teachers, but the way that they have stepped up has been absolutely amazing. So what does it look like in our schools? You've heard about letters. You've had people come up to board meetings and talk about letters and what that looks like in the classroom and some excitement around it. So letters stands for the Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling, and that is the program that we chose to roll out to our staff to teach them the science of reading. This went right along with our relentless focus on literacy, like I said, all the way back in 2019. Our original plan was to begin our letters training in 2020, 2021, but we did have to postpone it due to COVID. We did begin it in 21, 22, even though we weren't very happy that it was still virtual. We know that in-person training gives us the best results. But once we started it and we really started to look at the ask that we were giving our teachers, the amount of work, not just the learning in person, but the module work that they did on their own, which sometimes equaled about 45 hours outside of that initial training, we made a decision to do it over 3 years instead of 2, giving our teachers extra in-service days to actually do the work. We wanted to invest in our teachers. We wanted to make sure they got everything they could out of this, and I think it was a great decision on our part. So we are scheduled to finish our training next school year. Everyone should be finished by the end of the year, both our original cohort, which started in 21, 22, and our new cohort that started this year. They have actually been working really, really hard to get caught up, and they will be finishing next year as well. So they have the understanding, they have the learning, now it's about the application. So what are we beginning to see in our classrooms? We're starting to see that application. We're seeing exactly some of those things that Rachel talked about and what we used to do and what we're doing now. We're starting to hear requests come to buildings like, I need a sound wall, I need this, I need decodable readers, I need to put my guided readers, away. That's very exciting for us. When teachers understand the connection and they want to figure out a way to do better in their classrooms. We have had tremendous requests for additional support. Again, it's those I know better, I want to do better. Our reading specialist and Rachel have been very, very busy meeting with teachers before school, after school, in service, during plan times, giving them some additional training on things like Recipe for Reading, which takes the learning from letters and puts it in a way that you can apply it in your classroom. This next bullet is very exciting to me. So we've talked a little bit before about how letters really is like a college level course that we're asking our teachers to do while they're working a full-time job. We have had a tremendous surge of interest in teachers wanting to be trained at Orton Gillingham. So Orton Gillingham really is the way that you apply letters into your classroom, the science of reading into your classroom. In an ideal world, I'd love to have all of my teachers trained at Orton Gillingham. That's another college level course though. So we now are up to 36 teachers that have reached out and said, I want to do this. I want to figure out a way to apply all this in my classroom. I know this is the way. I'm willing to put the time and energy in. It's been so exciting to see. I actually have 4 more requests for people that just said, hey, I know better, I want to do better. The confidence and excitement from our teachers as they run up to me showing MAP scores or MAP fluency scores, or saying things like, I've never had kids like this reading in my room. I don't know what to do. What a great problem we have, that our teachers are kind of thrown off because now they have readers where before they never did have readers. That's been super exciting for us to see. What's the data show us? So as Rachel said, most of our work around letters right now has been around the decoding part. So we give our students in K through 3 the MAP fluency assessment 3 times a year. And when you get the MAP fluency assessment, it kind of measures whether or not you're in the foundational skills or you're in the oral reading side. We want our students in oral reading because that means they've mastered the foundational skills and they are ready to read and comprehend. So you can kind of see in the fall of 2022 where we were this fall. Kindergarten, we had 1 student. We have no expectation of having readers in kindergarten. In first grade, we started with 54. The expectation is that kids start to turn to the oral reading side in kindergarten in the winter. So we'd already started with 54, which is fantastic, which I believe we can accredit some of that to the previous year's application of letters. We started with 224 second graders and 379. You can see, though, how many students we were able to move from that foundational side over to the oral reading side. It's some of the highest numbers we've seen in just 1 school year. So it's very, very exciting. Do we still have some kids that are reading in the foundational or are located in the foundational side and still need to work on those skills? Absolutely. But it shows us that the changes that we're making in the classroom are showing some results. We are moving those students over to that oral reading, and that's where we want them because that's when we make them into readers that can read text and comprehend. We're also starting to see some shifts in our 3rd grade OST data. So kind of looking at those kiddos that have been in classrooms these past 2 years. Back 2021, we had 42% proficiency in the spring. And this year, preliminary data has us around 56%. Not official yet, but still, again, do we have a ways to go? We certainly do. But have we turned the ship in the right direction? I believe we have. And this is the kind of success that motivates us, that motivates the teachers, and that makes people realize we can do this, we can do something different, and we can change results. So what are our next steps? So we will finish our training next year with our remaining focus is going to be on the language comprehension side of the rope. So we're excited to see kind of where now some of our achievement scores may go. It's hard to get achievement scores if we're still working in the foundational piece of it. So we're hopeful for that. We need to continue to support teachers in the application of the learning. So our reading specialists need to be available to continue to go into classrooms and model different ways to teach reading, different strategies, to teach sessions, to coach people and give them feedback. We are actually piloting next year. 28 teachers will be piloting 2 new language arts programs. So another benefit of going 3 years instead of 2 is that when our teachers finish letters next year, the following year they will be able to roll right into some new language arts resources that align to what they've learned. Our current resources are not tightly aligned to the science of reading, so we're having some struggles. We have resources, now that we know better, we want to do better. So that's very exciting, the 2 programs that we have. We've actually met with the teachers today and last week to start going over some of our pilot information. Rachel and I are working currently to create a plan to ensure that new staff has the training around the science of reading. We know that they'll get some of the training because it's required for dyslexia, but we don't want to be okay with just some. We want to make sure that they fully understand the science of reading and letters. Letters has created us with a vocabulary, a common language that we use specifically in K3, a little bit and we'll extend it into 4 or 5 when we get more into the comprehension. We want to make sure that every new staff member understands that language. And we're going to look to expand our learning around the science of language to middle school. So that's exciting. That is our presentation on the science of reading. What kind of questions might you have?
That's wonderful. Thank you, Beth. So what happens after 23, 24? It will be the reading specialist doing training with the new teachers, is that right? You said that?
It will most likely be Rachel.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll continue with teachers that come on and.
Yes.
And then the results that you shared, that's great to see. How does that data compare to other districts that are using the letters training?
So that's a great segue into something that I forgot to tell you. One other thing that I think is exciting is that other districts are constantly calling me and saying, tell me about this letters training. Like, how did you guys get on board so quickly? How did you know about it? We were very proactive in our approach, and therefore when the dyslexia legislation came out, there was no panic on our end because we knew we had already met the requirements based on our letters, where there's a lot of districts right now that are being very reactive, and they're trying to really quickly put something in place to train their teachers. I don't know of a lot of districts that have completely rolled out letters that we can actually compare data to. I think, I like to say we're a trendsetter.
That's great, great.
But we can find that data out for you.
Yeah, I was just curious if there was, comparison of how other districts were doing, but that's great if we're starting the trend, so thank you.
Congratulations on starting this in a season that was not probably the best season to try to start something new. And I would imagine that some of our veteran educators, getting them to make that shift into a different structure is going to be.
And I think when we say just trust us, this is going to be different, but it's going to show results. Sometimes that's just hard to do, especially when you're just bouncing back from COVID and you have all of those things still on your plate. But our teachers persevered. I'm so proud and impressed by all that they've done and continue to do with little complaint and doing it at a high level. I was able to look at our letters data just to make sure that all of our teachers have met the requirements for dyslexia. That means they have to get at least an 80% on every module that they do and unit assessments, and all of our teachers have met it. So it's not even like they're just clicking through. They truly are spending the time that we're asking them and growing.
So just from an operational perspective, if somebody, even though they've had the training and they don't opt to use the techniques and the strategy, what happens with that down the road? Like if you have all but 1 or 2 people in a building in a grade, like any thoughts around that?
Mm-hmm.
Carol's got a smirk.
So we've rolled out an effective literacy block that we are expecting our teachers to model their time spent in the classroom, and it lays out how much time should be spent in different areas. So that is something that our administrators are monitoring. If teachers are struggling, then we will provide coaching, we'll provide some modeling, whatever it is that they need. I'll be honest, I think right now there's enough excitement and people are taking note when they see their colleagues running down the hallway with their MAP scores in their hands going, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. That they're starting to be like, okay, there might be something to this. I might need to get on board. So I don't think we have a lot of people. I think we have some people that are just a little slower in getting started, but there's enough momentum right now that I think everybody wants to be part of that success chain.
We also have common plan time for our grade levels, so they're embedded in those conversations on an ongoing basis. So it's kind of hard to be in that common plan time with people who are having that collegial conversation around instruction and planning. And I think that is also helping to kind of bring people along because they get to have that time to have that professional dialogue about not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it and the impact they're seeing.
And our reading specialist specifically, and some of our Hamilton County coaches are literally right alongside them, helping them and working with them and trying different things with them. So we're really trying to take the approach of let's do this together and let's see where it takes us.
Have we done any literacy parent nights to kind of help with, educate the parents that are helping with their kids reading at home?
So buildings have done some individual things, mostly related to the third grade reading guarantee. So it's probably an area that we probably should focus on in getting this out to our families, and maybe hosting some events. We probably could do a better job at that, absolutely.
Okay, great, yeah. Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
It's probably a good idea just to get your
Awesome.
footing underneath, so
Yeah.
when they do come, it's probably not too late or anything, but.
Right.
Just to get, at least people can speak the same language. you
Right.
know.
Absolutely, yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is a perfect segue for State Representative Cindy Abrams, who I just want to thank for always being accessible and actually coming out and visiting Amy and myself to have a conversation about what's happening at the State House and how it impacts the district, but also touring Corrine Elementary and seeing the science of reading in action. And so I really appreciated that these two were happening at the same night so that you can not only see what happened in the classroom, but district-wide, how it's impacting our students. So I want to welcome Ms. Abrams to the board meeting and give her an opportunity to give you an update from the State House.
Well, thank you for having me, of course. And I have my water and my cough drop. I'm not sick. I have allergies. It's totally crazy. So if I cough, yes. I feel like we have to say that these days, right? A couple things. One, the moms that were here with the PTA, I certainly did my PTA time, of course, and I totally agree with them. We can never find enough people to help. And so, yes, whoever is in this district, they should sign up because it is really a benefit for everyone. The science of reading, boy, was I impressed when I came with the superintendent and, of course, your treasurer, Amy Wells. We had a little sit down, and my goal of being here is essentially, I'm your state rep here in the House District 29. My goal was to do this, every single city, township, village meeting in my district and school board, and then COVID hit. So the whole world stopped, right? And so now that we're back and meetings are underway. So this is just a way to say, look, I'm here, I'm accessible. Please reach out. Everybody knows how to find me. I think a quick Google search will find that. Anyway, or I have cards. So what are we doing at the State House? Well, we're working on the budget. And that consumes us the first 6 months of the year, typically in odd years. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm going to give you the budget update and then a couple of bills I thought would be important to you all here, and then I'm open for questions. So, sound good? Does everybody know my background? Do you want to hear about it or no?
Sure.
I'm not a politician. I'm laughing because that's really my title, and I know Jim is smiling like it is. So I moved here to Cincinnati, believe it or not, in 1996. I was a young 22-year-old to work for the Cincinnati Police Department as an officer. So I moved from a little town called Crown Point, and I'll make this quick. So I moved to work for Cincinnati Police, served as an officer on patrol, and a little time in Vice. Ended up marrying my husband, who also was a police officer and just retired after 31 years of service. It's exciting for him. And had our sons, left the police department, started my own home-based business, The Pampered Chef. Those of you that love to cook, there was that. Was minding my own business again, working my business, raising my family in my community of Harrison, and politics kind of found me. So the mayor asked me to serve on Planning Commission. I had no idea what that was even about, nor did I have time to do that, but in typical volunteer fashion, I said yes. And so then as I was on council, as I was on Planning Commission, a seat opened up on council. And I couldn't figure out, as a former first responder, why we were the fastest growing community in the Hamilton County at the time. I think we might still be at this moment, and our council wasn't replacing the policemen and firemen as they retired. So I couldn't figure out why you're growing with business and people in one spot. Your calls for service are naturally going to go up. So someone retired on council, and I came home and I said to my husband, I'm going to run for this open council seat. And he said, have you lost your mind? You're not a politician. And I said, well, that's, I think, what this town needs. And so I knocked on every door, and I won. So again, Senator Terhar retired early. Representative Blessing at the time applied for that vacancy. And then, again, politics found me. And they called and said, hey, we've heard great things. Because, of course, I jumped in everywhere, whether it be the school district, the city. You know, we have a great relationship in the city of Harrison with Southwest Local. So I drove to Columbus to interview to be the candidate, and little did I know I was the candidate. So here we are. And so I am your state rep and have, in typical Cindy Abrams fashion, jumped into everything. So I'm a hands-on learner. So the science of reading, I always want to turn around and, where did they go? There you are. Again, when I came to see that firsthand, I just think it's a wonderful thing. The governor, of course, is on board, and that is our job to figure out how we can, you know, make this work. And then your decision here to say, yes, this does work, because at the end of the day, we can pour money at things, but if you don't have a great program. So, a couple of updates. Early childhood development in the budget. It's one, I'm a mother, okay, so, you know, I already said I had kids. When they are young, it is so important, as we all know as educators, to, from that 0 to 3, right? So we have invested heavily in that. Not only over $61 million in this budget. Now, this is the House version. Let me be very clear here. It's over in the Senate at the moment. Tomorrow we should be able to, I think there's sub-bills coming out tomorrow. So we'll know what the Senate did to the House version, which is always fun to find out. Because I guess it's never been done where each chamber agrees on the first attempt. So we'll see. Maybe we can make history here. So we basically, over $61 million in additional funding for that early childhood education every year to ensure that more children have access to the early, the preschool programs that are so very important. And of course, you know, with everyone wanting to work, obviously, to support their family, but they can't find childcare, so then a lot of people are staying at home with their children or working from home. And so publicly funded childcare, we have raised the percentage to 160% of the federal poverty level, providing that additional resources for, you know, families so they can get to that affordable and high quality childcare so that they can work. Of course, we invested in our fair school funding formula, which of course the funding plan, former Speaker Bob Cupp, which last General Assembly he was the Speaker, and I was on his leadership team, and he worked for, I believe, a decade trying to come up with, and he was a former Supreme Court Justice, so that was his complete baby, as we call it, to find a formula where I know you guys have a 5-year forecast here, and we do 2-year budgets, and it's hard to forecast out 5 years when you have just a 2-year budget. But anyway, we invested $8 billion in 2024 and $8.2 billion, a little bit over that, in 25 in that formula. So again, I believe that's so important. The preschool, special ed preschool, $146 million, we've increased that each year, again, to ensure that all children have access to the resources that they need to succeed in school, and then investing $6 million in behavioral health, okay? Again, root causes of challenging behavior. As a mother, I'm sure everyone is a parent here, you gotta get to the root, you know, issue before we can offer anybody help what's going on. Over $200 million, which I'm excited about this because I'm a fan of Career Tech. I love that you partner with Butler Tech. I think the things that you're doing here in partnership with them are phenomenal. So again, over $200 million in the high school Career Tech facilities. Again, you've already have it, I think, down pat here in this district. And then $45 million for our ESC centers. Of course, they help you. We increased the minimum base salary for public school teachers to $40,000. And then everyone currently receiving the reduced price or free lunch is still going to be able to receive that, so no child goes hungry during the day. We eliminated the, I can't even say it without people going, thank Lord. You already know what I'm saying, the third grade reading guarantee, again, we need to teach them how to read, and we've also reduced the number of assessments given to the students because, again, let's teach them, let's let our educators teach, and then we have better outcomes. A couple of bills that were, I think they're going to be important to you as you prepare our high schoolers for whether it's the workforce. I told my boys you have 3 choices. You can, go straight to work. You can find, a trade or something that you would like. You can serve in our military. You can go to a 4-year institution. But I'm not going to send you there to figure out what you want to be because it's very expensive, as we know. So House Bill 27 is something that I think is wonderful. It's a financial disclosure form that every public university in the state is going to have to fill out with that new college student. And I'm guessing that it's going to partner, that would make most sense, with your guidance counselors here to let them know. It will help the high schoolers, our juniors and seniors, make better informed decisions. Here's what your degree is in. Here's what you're going to make when you get out. Here's what your debt could be. Here's what all, the loans and grants and whatever else, scholarships you're going to receive. We voted it out of the House. I believe it was unanimous, and now it's in the Senate. So, again, the financial literacy piece that is so important. And then last is House Bill 47, which, again, I think so important, requiring an AED in every school, both public and private. We all know here in the Cincinnati area that Damar Hamlin would not be alive today without an AED. And of course, our first responders at the scene and UC Health. But I will say, none of us know when our heart's going to stop beating. So again, this would mandate an AED in every school. Every school that I've been to in my district, they already have them. And, Three Rivers athletic director and their athletic trainers came up to give testimony on why it's so important to do that. So again, it was slated for a House vote. Then there was a snafu. We had a couple members asking questions. So it's still, we informally passed it, which means it's still it stays on the calendar, but we haven't voted on it yet. So, questions?
Do you anticipate that coming soon, voting on that?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, again, as a parent and a mother of 2 boys that played sports, and even if you don't play sports, I mean, who's to say that any of our hearts aren't going to stop right now? You don't know. Yeah. So,
could you
yes.
give us an update on House Bill 11, the backpack bill?
The backpack bill is still in committee. As you know, or maybe I didn't mention that, in the budget, what we did is we raised the Ed Choice to 450%, which is a federal poverty level, which I think is like $133,000 ballpark for a family of 4. We sent that over to the Senate. I have no idea what they did, but the backpack bill is still in committee. It hasn't moved. And I mean, I'm not sure if you're asking my opinion on that or not, but I mean, again, if we can fund public school and give parents that choice of where they want to go, I think that's good. But at the end of the day, the state only has so much money. We don't have unlimited funds. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
The 3rd grade reading guarantee, you said, is passed through
No.
for you, or where is that?
The House version. It's in the Senate. It's in the budget.
Still in the Senate, okay.
So we removed those requirements, and I have no idea what the Senate has done because they've been very quiet over there.
Okay.
So tomorrow we will know.
So I appreciate you coming here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And touring one of our most structurally needed to replace schools.
Yes. Yes. That was a day that was, it wasn't 95 out, so that was good, right?
We love the people in that school, but the building itself is in dire need of replacing.
That's
But
right.
yeah, thank you for all that you do. It's great to hear that you've been at all levels, a parent and public service. Thank you for that. And here you are working for all of us. So
That's
appreciate
right.
you.
Well, let me know if you guys need anything. I do plan to be back. Typically, I do this and during we have a break, and I use that at air quotes because there's really no break. It's kind of a joke when they say we have a break. It's not, but that's fine. So, but then you guys are off, I do believe, in summer. So this was one of the dates, unless I'm getting my meetings mixed up, which I could be. So anyway, plan to be back.
Thank you very much.
And let me know if you
Appreciate
need
your time.
anything. Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Our student achievement liaison report.
Okay. So what I have this evening is, I already mentioned earlier by Matt Stoynoff about qualifying and making it to the state level in any sport is a really huge deal, as mentioned. So I can't go without mentioning once more, from Colerain Summer Sport Out, placed third in the state in 100 and second place in the 200. But along with that, at not only at Colerain High School, but at Northwest High School over this past weekend, we had Malachi Snow, who placed second place in the 100-meter hurdles at the state level. So congratulations to both of them. Thank you.
He was state runner-up in the 300 hurdles also.
Okay.
He was state runner-up in both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I did a little research, and he's ranked 17th in the country in the 100 and 23rd in the 300s.
Yeah.
So he's really, really good.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Butler Tech update.
no update tonight.
Legislative update.
Nicole, Representative.
Anything you say.
Yeah. There's nothing I can add.
No pressure, huh?
Do we have any reports from employee organizations?
None tonight.
I didn't receive any community comments.
All right, that brings us to the consent items, so we'll go through our items, starting with personnel.
We seek your approval for the following: 11 resignations, 2 retirements, 3 initial appointments, 3 change in status, various supplemental items, and 2 MOUs with OPSI. 1 to increase the mechanic pay scale, and the second to change the attendance incentive for our drivers and our OPSI employees from semester to a weekly incentive.
We have one donation tonight. Side by Side is donating books to Colerain High School for their summer reading program. And we have a few vendor contracts for the non-public schools, special education, and our SROs.
So with that, the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the consent items as listed.
Need a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Did we have a hiring event last Friday?
It's on the 16th.
The 16th, okay. How are we doing with numbers? Are we still on track for where we usually are?
I think when I checked today, there were 49 people signed up for different slots, and then we're also accepting walk-ins.
Great.
And
Thank you.
one thing on the attendance incentive, explain that to me. We're paying employees to come to work?
We currently
Initially.
have attendance incentives for our employee groups, teacher, classified, and OPSI. The OPSI one currently is a semester. This one changes it to taking the same allocation of money, but allocating it differently, so it's per week. So it's perfect attendance on a weekly basis would give an extra hour of pay for that week, which would be what normally adds up over the course of a semester when they get it. This is taking it to a weekly basis. We've worked with them. It's part of what we're trying to do as we not only address the routes and the walkout zones, but trying to work with them on other ways to make sure that we not only have the right number of drivers, but they're showing up every day so that hopefully next year when we go into the school year, we're in a better situation than we are now.
Is that common for school districts to have those kind of incentives and they're built in their contracts?
The difference for us is the weekly. Most other districts haven't gone to that level, but we have worked with the leadership of OPSI to kind of talk about what are the ways that we can really kind of capitalize on and maximize people's attendance. Sometimes if you're a month or two in the school year and you've missed and you can't get their bonus, sometimes you're more inclined to, I don't feel well, I'm not going to push through. But knowing that you reset every week, we're hoping that we get people who are pushing through and really are increasing their attendance.
Our shift in personnel, so we did the big contracts last meeting, page after page of page contracts. So those that have exited and we have open positions, how are we in relation to the previous years? Do we have more open positions after this contract season? Or where are we with that?
We're actually about the same. So we track that attrition rate pretty carefully, as you might guess. And so we are pretty close to where we are typically. So
Pretty close being under or lower?
we're very, very close to where almost exactly where we are typically. So, and our principals are hiring away. So we had 5 new teacher hires today. So we are working to get those positions filled.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, passes 5-0. Amy?
Hey, good evening. First, I'd like to ask the board to dispense with reading of and approve the May 18th regular meeting minutes. We also have 2 then and now certifications for transportation services. We have the approval of the 2023-24 Student Activities Handbook. There are no changes from last year, just renewing it for next year. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the fiscal consent items as listed.
Need a motion in a second?
Second?
Any discussion, questions for Amy? Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Passes 5-0.
So next, we have a resolution that actually will reject the bids for the summer 2023 pavement maintenance that we brought to you a couple meetings ago to bid out. We did have one that was incomplete bid that we couldn't accept and one that was over 40% above the base bid. And so with that, we are looking to reject all of those and move forward with another bidding process.
Will that start right away, or?
Yes. Yeah.
So do you think you'll get different companies making bids?
We think so, yes.
Yeah. Do you reach out to companies and say, hey, we've got a couple of, parking lots we need done, will you guys bid on it?
Correct. Yeah, the engineer will reach out to several different vendors.
Chris, is it, some of these, one of our former board members was in the paving business, and he always talked about how hard it was to get, these days, help for anything.
Right.
And is there plenty of people out there willing to do the work?
Yeah, there is. Right now, we're seeing a lot of the companies taking much larger jobs, but we don't have that available at this time. So hopefully we can get some of the smaller contractors to bid on this kind of work.
I need a motion in a second for that.
So moved. Second.
Any other questions?
Just have the seniors do it like they did in their parking spots.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, next, I'd like to ask the board to approve our temporary appropriations for fiscal year '24 so that we can start on July 1st. Our all funds balance is $132 million, and the general fund was $101.4 million, and that was included in the 5-year forecast approved last meeting. So with that, I ask the board to approve the temporary appropriations as listed.
Need a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Amy, do you, the 5-year forecast, do you share that with the township or community groups, or how do we, I know it was shared here last week, or last month, but how do we get that out to the community? Is that?
It's posted on the website. We also else, we can
Okay.
put it out there more.
Just share it out, okay.
Mhm.
And then with the, starting July, any surprises or things that you've seen different than any other year?
No, we pretty much are a typical school, and every year just is pretty much the same.
Okay.
And hopefully no surprises from the State House with that, right?
And we'll find out tomorrow with the Senate.
Yeah, we'll find out when it come tonight.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Yes, it's fine, is here.
And then we do have more handbooks. This is the season where we update all of them. So we have several from Human Resources. There's a handbook for every employee group that kind of takes policy and kind of operationalizes it. So those 4 handbooks are there for review for this time. They'll come back for approval next time. And then we have another group from Student Services. Those handbooks are our athletic handbooks, coaches handbooks, health assistance, attendance, and enrollment. So those are on there for review as well. And then just want to highlight a couple of things. One, I want to thank State Representative Abrams for being here and always being accessible and being willing to come and see the science of reading in action. So we always appreciate your willingness to be engaged. So thank you for that. Want to acknowledge the great things that are happening in the district. We had 5 presentations tonight that are all celebrating staff, parents, and kids, which is the village it takes to do what we do. And so we appreciate all of those entities coming together to really kind of support the ongoing efforts of the district. Nicole took some of the thunder, but just want to reiterate the hiring event that we have coming up on June 16th. Walk-ins are welcome, and we do encourage people who are interested. It will be at Houston, off of Compton Road, right next to Target. So do your shopping, stop by, apply for a job. We're excited to hopefully get a lot of good employees from that hiring event. And then just to kind of synthesize a little bit about what Rachel and Lori talked about, the science of reading. You know, we're about kids, and so when you can take something like that that is really research-based and educationally sound and move that many staff members around something that is good for kids and then see that kind of data and that kind of movement. Some of the teachers that I've talked to and the building principals are like, you know, we're shifting our conversation from how do we catch kids up to how do we move kids who are on or above grade level. And that's a really good conversation to be having, especially at that primary grade level, because that's just the tidal wave that builds and it just keeps moving up our system. And so really starting at that early literacy component and making sure that the kids are coming without the gaps to begin with is a huge step in the right direction for us as a district. And I'm excited for the work that has already happened and what will continue next year as we continue to fully realize the implementation of the science of reading.
Thanks, Terrell. Chris, board member comment?
No, nothing other than to thank the state representative, Ms. Abrams, for coming tonight. And it takes you said there's never really a break. I know in Kentucky, I work in Kentucky, and the legislature meets for like 2 months in Kentucky, and then I don't know what they do the other 10 months.
I don't know how they do it, that much policy in 2 months. Oh,
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. So, thank you. And that's it.
Yeah, I just want to thank Cindy for coming and called on her a few times up in Columbus through Butler Tech and that. So, and I just want to thank everybody for their presentations and congratulate our athletes again, the track athletes that had a great Saturday with a 3 or 4 hour delay with the storms and that up in Columbus. So that's tough on an athlete to do that and have to sit around and wait, but they did a very good job. That's it.
Matt?
Yes, congratulations to Carrie Martini on being nominated for the Ohio Teacher of the Year. Thank you to the PTAs for coming this evening and telling us about what you've done this year in your school years, and it's much appreciated. A thankless job, I'm sure, but the students appreciate it, the teachers and staff and everybody. Thank you for the presentation on science of reading. It's really exciting, when there's things that are happening in the district that are going to, hopefully move the needle on education for our students. And, we hear about, grading and report cards and, how we are, and this is something that's, showing results and, hopefully improving our education of our kids in our schools. And, thank you to Representative Cindy Abrams for coming this evening. Thank you.
First, I just want to say to the PTAs that came and presented, it is like no particular part of the body is any more important than the other, right? And so I see the PTA as our spine of our school body. I hear teachers say all the time just how valuable the PTA is to them, which is just so rewarding, and it's a lot of maybe in some people's perception thankless work. So I just want to thank all the PTAs. I tried to go to as many of the meetings as I could possibly go to, and it's really interesting to go and listen to what's going on in each of the buildings. Just like Northwest Middle, Pleasant Run Middle and Northwest, combining, thinking out of the box like that and sharing resources is outstanding. I mean, the more minds you get together, the more ideas can come out of it. I want to thank John Briner for presenting Carrie to us. 26 years, I believe she said. 26 years. That's a lot of lives that she's touched. And that goes for any of our educators and our staff. So just thank her. Side by Side for, I don't think we go a meeting without Side by Side being mentioned. They are always here for our community. And Representative Abrams, thank you for really for your whole life of volunteer. You started with the kids in school to you continue to serve, and that's quite a bit of time and effort. And if there's anything we could ever do for you, don't hesitate to let us know.
Thanks. I would like to just reiterate what everyone said, congratulating Carrie and thanking the PTAs. One of the things when I decided to run for the board was, can I still volunteer? Because being in the school is really what's most important to me, and volunteering. And I know what it takes to be there, and I thank you guys for all your time. And I know the kids appreciate it, and I do love hearing that field trips are on the move back, because that's something that I think that our kids need more of. And thanks to Lori and Rachel. I loved the Science of Reading presentation, and I'm excited to see the next few years where we can continue to go with those reading scores, and also the hopeful elimination of the third grade reading guarantee. Thank you, Ms. Abrams, for being here. And I hope that everyone's able to kind of take a breath now that school is over, and just regroup and enjoy their summer, and just take a nice needed vacation. And thank you all for your time as well.
Next, we have a motion for executive session to discuss the evaluation of the treasurer and to discuss the sale of property at competitive bidding, because premature disclosure of information would be an unfair, competitive, or bargaining advantage. The person whose personal private interest is adverse to the general public interest. With that, the superintendent recommends the board approve the motion to move to the executive session as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Passes 5-0. So we will now go to executive session, but when we return, no further business will be held. So this is the end of the public meeting. Thank you.